people of United States of Biafra. And good afternoon once again. Good evening, depending on your time and your location. This is one of your own, Biafra TV, greeting you from here and greeting my president, Mazi Nnamdi, greeting my Prime Minister, Mazi Ekpa. Good morning, sir. In a language of protocol of military, I salute and I greet two of you in a special way. I greet my Deputy Prime Minister, the Chief of Staff, the COS, Dr. Ngozi Orabueze. And I also greet all the Biafra military, all the Biafra army, all the general commanders, and all the local commanders. I salute you all. Good morning, sir, to you all from here. So, my people, it is a wonderful evening that we are here this evening to do one or two things before we call it a day. We are back online. So you may join us by liking and sharing the program without wasting time. So we may go fast. We will not spend, we might have only 1 hour or a maximum 2 hours to be here. And we will close for the day. So please join me to like and share the program once you come in. It is very imperative if you do so. Immediately we finish that, we will dive into a lot of things. Some matters are rising, and why the protest is important. Why the protest is what is very, very important this time on Mazi Nnamdi. We should not shy away from the truth and the other things that we need to, because it's all about the level of pressure that we mount and how fast we are moving to get our international recognition is what is going to end everything. Listen, I remind you again, no leader or a president or a prime minister who fought for independence of his people that was released. If Mazi Nnamdi is going to release by the law, by the court order, by today, B16, they went to court, they could have released him with all the things that is happening in Nigeria. So far, so good. Because of you did not serve Nigeria, because of you don't have the idea of how Nigeria is working. That is why you are messing up. That is why. But if you have worked for Nigeria at all, if you have served Nigeria, you will understand that the devil is better for you to serve instead of serving in Nigeria and having hope that Nigeria will grant Mazi Nnamdi freedom. For me, I always coming from a different dimension that you may not like what I'm saying. You see, that's one that you don't like what I'm saying. That is the gospel truth. That is why it's bitter to you. That is why when I say that truth, you will walk away, you will shy away from that truth. Because the truth is very bitter. And the truth is something that you are not going to, you will not understand the truth either. You will not. That's why I told you, before I'm here, I told you, ask of how a leader who is fighting for a new country, until you understand that Mazi Nnamdi is fighting for a new country, that is when you understand the level of what we as the Biafran people now that have a new now that have declared a new country, what we have to do to bring him out. Everything must be in the multiple dimension. We will not wait for only recognition for bringing him out. We will be doing things that will triggering close to the recognition immediately. We need to do things that will trigger the recognition to come in. It's not going, like they told you, that conducting an election is also proving that your government is not on the paper. Imagine such a word of supporting the people's right of election without international recognition. Then, if you can imagine such a thing, then you will understand from where I'm coming from and what you have to do at this time that we are into. The level where we are has passed where you were expecting Mazi to be released by law. The law will engage him more and more. And you think that when he comes out again, he will start preaching, he start protesting again. Is it what you wish for him? And that is why you are fighting against the government. So you want Mazi Nnamdi to come south and continue with the protests, continue with broadcasts again. That is what you are wishing for him. As sorry, as we are pushing, working hard for us to get international recognition, there is things that will trigger the international recognition to come in. What are those things? The protest that is about to happen or the protest is going on is very, very important. I have said it here. One of our brothers misunderstood me on comment section. And after that misunderstanding, he refused to come to my platform. Does it stop the platform moving? It doesn't stop anything. And it can never stop. It can never stop me. He can't stop me with that. I am telling you things that we need to, where we are, that's why I told you, we must pay attention on some certain level of things. Start asking, I give you names of people. I give you name like Gandhi of India. Find out how he was released. He fights for a country called India. Check of Rahibaman of Bangladesh. He fought for a country. Check how he was released. Check how Jomo Kenyatta of Kenya. Check how he was released. Check how Nelson Mandela was released. Until you check the history of this individual, I mentioned their name, how they released, then you will know what you expected and you know what you're supposed to do. Until when you check how this individual was released, that is when you will know the shenanigan Nigerian government is doing. It's no longer in the hands of Nigeria to free Mazi Nnamdi because of the shame and the calamities they have committed. It is in your hand. It is in our hand to do something that will draw attention, that will trigger pity of giving the government recognition and releasing him with the name of Biafra as a new country. It's no longer a child's play. Who no go? No. And what you don't know is bigger than you. You may ask me, when did I come out? From all these years, I was gathering my information. I was well branded because I started earlier. Even if I said it's only from 2015. Do you hear about Masob? Are you a member of Masob? Your father is a member of Masob before we join Mazi Nnamdi. I am telling you what we have to do. What will bring Mazi Nnamdi out and how he's going to. He will come out like a hero. Like Nelson Mandela. Like Gandhi. Like Nelson Mandela. Like Rahman of Bangladesh. Like Jomo Kenyatta of Kenya. This is how he's going to come out. And Nigeria, the thing that the world will charge them, that is only where they're not going to charge them. So Nigeria also asking you to trigger up your momentums of the movement. And they're waiting for court to release him. He will never be released in that way you think of it. That's why I told you that for Mazi Nnamdi to release is in your hand and in my hand. What we are representing, what we are pushing out, what we are ditching out in social media. I keep on hitting on this particular aspect. I keep on reminding you about this. The protest is very, very important. And I will prove it to you. How important this protest it is. That we're supposed to by now ravaging all the embassy of Finland. Those who advise our DPM to give him international advice. They should give him what, there's a time you need to do something the eyes are seeing. Ndị ba anyị n'okwu Igbo na nke nụ na ntị basị mana nke mfunanya bụ eziokwu. If you like, you believe. If you like, do not believe. You can call me any name you want to call me, but what matters is that I am giving you out with evidence, not just making up a story. I don't believe in making up a story. If whatever I want to say, I will not be able to defend it or prove fact and figure, I will not do that. I better do not even come outside at all to say anything. That is kind of who I am. Sorry, people in the comment section, I see you, Emmanuel. Good evening from here. I see you, Ogana. Yes, I am back. Shugo Caribbean is our strength, is my strength, so that is why I can come back again today. Even if it is 2 hours, even if it is 1 hour, I am back here. It's okay. I am telling you for you to understand the game, the importance of what we are doing, and how we can achieve it. When you heard about Mazi Nnamdi told that Nigeria court will not release Mazi Nnamdi, true or false? Onyangos, good evening from here. Mazi Nnamdi told you that court will not release Mazi Nnamdi, true or false? What are you seeing? Upon now that you see all evidence of what is coming out from court, that he's not feeling fine, they don't want to release him. If Nigeria eventually releases Mazi Nnamdi, the sanction of Nigeria, if it is 20%, it triggers to 70%. That is why the world are keeping silent and looking at him. And also see him as an internal conflict also of Nigeria. You are the one to, this is not an internal conflict. That a president of a new country is being held ransom, is being kidnapped away from Kenya and brought him back to Nigeria and keep him in this dungeon for 5 years now. When we mute ourselves, when we are not talking, when we are not showcasing the evidence of what is going on, everyone will be silent. Nigeria are happy that protests are not hitting, are not making way again in the world. Now that Nigerian name is on the world stage, protests supposed to be hitting up everywhere. Not in Nigeria, in abroad. From the day that Mazi Nnamdi was kidnapped in Kenya, has any protest handled it in Kenya? What of those IPOB who are there? They all disappeared because they are in colluding with Nigeria to kidnap Mazi Nnamdi. That is why, have you seen any protest in the north of Mazi Nnamdi happening in Kenya where he was kidnapped? Okay, you will tell me, oh, that Kenya has come outside and condemned it, and they agreed to pay Mazi Nnamdi some damages, some compensation. Meaning what? Is it what is important now? We must take those drastic measures, because what work for Bangladesh might not work for us. What work for India, for the regulation, might not work for us. And some things that work for them might also work for us. When it's come to international global stage, despite the rampage, the organized, the orchestrated hatred, they meted on us from the time of, from the ending to the starting of the Second World War. From the ending of the First World War to starting of the Second World War, they colluded and have an agreement how they are going to swallow us, wipe us away. But today, they never ask themselves, these people that we want to swallow, these people that we want them to vanish, why are they not vanishing? Why are they coming out more and more? That is one thing that they never know. The Igbo people, we are like Ako Igbo. The only way you wipe us away, when you understand how water enter inside coconuts. That is what the world never come across, never think of it. If the world can verify how did water enter inside something that is up without eye seeing, without the rain falling and entering, then they may understand who we are. The amalgamation that you Britain bring to us, that was the end of destruction, the end of darkness, the end of corruption. That beginning of the corruption is amalgamation. That's what amalgamation of 1914 is. Why in fact, the amalgamation was death sentence. The amalgamation was death sentence to Igbo people, to Biafran people, to one particular ethnic group. And it's because of the ethnic group of Igbo people refuses to accept it. And when they see that they cannot come back like the way Britain come, Lolugari come and study who we are, that we are republicans, that we are democracy, that we are everything good, and we like stay in your lane, why I stay in my line, in my own lane. When they find out, they go and come back. They try with Aridu Noba, they make war, and they fail woefully. What happens? They now come back again with amalgamation. Amalgamation. We are telling the world that amalgamation of 1914 as Nigeria as a country is a death sentence to every indigenous people in Nigeria. That is why the country must come to an end. The amalgamation is a death sentence by hanging, shooting by gun, committing suicide. That is what the amalgamation is. Amalgamation that leads to people to be rotting away in their ancestral home. And there is mass burial every month in Nigeria. Sometimes 50 people, sometimes 20, sometimes 30, sometimes 35, sometimes 40. This is sometimes 120 in a month. The amalgamation is a death sentence to every indigenous people, and that is why we carry it on our head to fight for every indigenous person. That is why we say no, we will not accept this death sentence. We now on appeal to the world. We are now appealing on UN with their corrupt people all over there. EU, all the Africans. That's coming of Britain, coming of white man in our own country without visa, without passports, is a crime. And what happens? They come, they destroy, they bring death sentence to African people. That is why they was throwing our people inside sea and compensating the owner of the boat. 1781, it happens. It's not a death sentence when they carry a live human being through inside sea. What is that? The amalgamation, we are appealing to the world that this sentence that Britain passed to us, that we are appealing that we do not deserve it, that to allow us to live on our own. Let's see how all Africa are fighting each other before you come. We are not fighting, then you come to bring fight to us. Tell me the Africa versus Africa who fights Second World War within themselves. Where has it happened? Where? And the world bring Britain colluded with America and all the world powers to sentence us for death sentence. When we talk, they will look for us for arrest. That is what happened. That is what is going on. That is what's happening. That is what is going on. That you must understand. Amalgamation of 1914 is a death sentence. Let us go into how also protests will help. Police protests will do two things. In abroad, that one is lacking. And those that are around the government need to do something. Take some actions. This is the pure truth. But before I will say that, let us go into UN Charter. We will go in there. We will pick the one that favor us. That's one they used to intimidate us. We will tell them that this one is not working for us, and we don't want it anymore. I want you to pay attention, listen to this. How protests, why protest is important. When a leader who is fighting for a new country, whenever he was arrested, why protest is very, very important. Now that the Nigerian name is on the stage, is everywhere, they are talking about what is happening. Our protest will trigger pity on Mazi and the Kano, and pity to get us recognition for say, okay, let this thing stop, let them go. That is what the protest will bring. Listen to this.
The protests following the arrest of a leader before a declaration of independence are highly important under international law, but not in a way that automatically makes the leader or the new state legally legitimate. Their importance is in providing public evidence that a claim to self-determination is genuinely supported by the people, which strengthens the eventual case for recognition as an independent state. 1. Legal significance of protests, self-determination. The protests and the leader's arrest relate to the right to self-determination, which is a fundamental principle of international law enshrined in the UN Charter and the International Covenants on Human Rights. Element: International Law Principle. The protests. Demonstrations are the visible and organized expression of the people's will. They serve as compelling factual evidence that the people are 1. A distinct people, 2. United in their demand to determine their own political status, and 3. Rejecting the current colonial/occupying power's authority. The leader's arrest. When a colonial or occupying power arrests a national leader for non-violent political action, it is often viewed as a violation of the fundamental rights of the people, specifically, the rights to freedom of assembly and freedom of expression. This act by the ruling power further validates the independence movement's narrative of oppression and illegitimacy of the existing rule. In the context of decolonization, the primary setting for this scenario, mass protests serve as the de facto consent of the governed, necessary to establish a clear claim for external self-determination, which often leads to the formation of a sovereign state. 2. Distinction: legality versus legitimacy. It's crucial to distinguish between the legal right to protest and the legal status of the independence movement. Protests are legally protected under modern international human rights law, like the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, which protects the freedoms of assembly and expression. Peaceful protests are a protected right. Therefore, the colonial power arresting the leader and violently suppressing the ensuing protests risks violating the human rights obligations it is bound by. The arrested leader's status is complex. The colonial power will legally view the leader's actions and the protests as a violation of its domestic law, e.g., sedition, treason. In this context, international law does not automatically grant the independence movement immunity from the existing domestic law of the ruling power. However, the international community, particularly the UN, often elevates the political legitimacy of the independence movement, bolstered by the protests, over the domestic law of the colonial power. This political reality often forces a diplomatic or negotiated settlement that leads to independence. Therefore, the importance of the protests is primarily political and evidentiary, providing the compelling moral and factual basis for the international community to recognize the legitimacy of the claim for independence.
I hope you are listening. I will play it again before I will do analysis on it.
The protests following the arrest of a leader before a declaration of independence are highly important under international law, but not in a way that automatically makes the leader or the new state legally legitimate. Their importance is in providing public evidence that a claim to self-determination is genuinely supported by the people, which strengthens the eventual case for recognition as an independent state. 1. Legal significance of protests, self-determination. The protests and the leader's arrest relate to the right to self-determination, which is a fundamental principle of international law enshrined in the UN Charter and the International Covenants on Human Rights. Element: International Law Principle. The protests. Demonstrations are the visible and organized expression of the people's will. They serve as compelling factual evidence that the people are 1. A distinct people, 2. United in their demand to determine their own political status, and 3. Rejecting the current colonial/occupying power's authority. The leader's arrest. When a colonial or occupying power arrests a national leader for non-violent political action, it is often viewed as a violation of the fundamental rights of the people, specifically, the rights to freedom of assembly and freedom of expression. This act by the ruling power further validates the independence movement's narrative of oppression and illegitimacy of the existing rule. In the context of decolonization, the primary setting for this scenario, mass protests serve as the de facto consent of the governed, necessary to establish a clear claim for external self-determination, which often leads to the formation of a sovereign state. 2. Distinction: legality versus legitimacy. It's crucial to distinguish between the legal right to protest and the legal status of the independence movement. Protests are legally protected under modern international human rights law, like the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, which protects the freedoms of assembly and expression. Peaceful protests are a protected right. Therefore, the colonial power arresting the leader and violently suppressing the ensuing protests risks violating the human rights obligations it is bound by. The arrested leader's status is complex. The colonial power will legally view the leader's actions and the protests as a violation of its domestic law, e.g., sedition, treason. In this context, international law does not automatically grant the independence movement immunity from the existing domestic law of the ruling power. However, the international community, particularly the UN, often elevates the political legitimacy of the independence movement, bolstered by the protests, over the domestic law of the colonial power. This political reality often forces a diplomatic or negotiated settlement that leads to independence. Therefore, the importance of the protests is primarily political and evidentiary, providing the compelling moral and factual basis for the international community to recognize the legitimacy of the claim for independence.
I hope you had it here. I hope you heard how important protest it is on Mazi Nnamdi, on what? On who? Simon Ekpa. The protests are important, and it's the right of the people to do protests. You won't go to the protest on Finland, they will arrest you. No. Why are we panicking? Why are you afraid of doing those things? All these things are geared to multiple dimensions that will set all of them free, to prove that they are the choice of the people. Because of you have done it did not work, you will continue. The more you continue, the more the world has seen the seriousness in you. Obato will be used at home to call all his protests. Let us analyze this.
The protests following the arrest of a leader before a declaration of independence are highly important under international law, but not in a way that automatically makes the leader or the new state legally legitimate.
Do you hear it? The protests following the arrest of a leader before we went to Finland to make our declaration of independence are highly important under international law. They said when they say something is highly important, it's very high important for protests to go on. We should not left any stone unturned. By protest, we are carrying everything along. But they say that, but it's not automatically to make the leader of the new state, a new state, no longer a leader of a group. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is no longer a leader of IPOB. Is a leader, is a president of a new state. See it here. But not in a way that they automatically make the leader of the new state legal legitimacy. We if the only Mazi Nnamdi Kanu our leader. Yes. But there is a word, there is a name that draws attention more. President, Prime Minister, Monarch. These are names that draws pity. These are names that the world don't want to play with. And it's hard for you to call Mazi Nnamdi Kanu president. And I told you, you are here today. I read on the chapter of the article that prove it right. That calling him a president is changing the status of the way, the name that he was arrested like common criminal, a leader of a terrorist group, a treason, sedition. Once you start after a declaration of a new state, the protest following the arrest of a leader before declaration of independence are highly important under international law. After we have declared Biafra on November 29, 2024, from that day that we made our declaration officially, what next? What next is using the name of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Now that we have become a new state, look at it, they said that the leader who is fighting for a new state, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, is not fighting for a group. That was it. His ambition is fight for Biafra to become a new country, to become a sovereign state. Is it not what he's fighting for? That up to today, they told him, stop agitation, stop this your Biafra and be free. He said no. And you are remaining silent. When you come on my page, when I will tell you, hashtag Nigeria government, free Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, the president of United States of Biafra. Only mado 50. Only mado 5 get there. Then open up when I go to the store. Keep point mado there you too. What I get here anybody born a leader in every group. That is to make a difference. That is to make a difference. That he's no longer a leader of that organization called IPOB, because he is not fighting for a group of people. He is not fighting for registered name of a company with a group of people. No, he is fighting for a new state. And once the new state is being declared, what happens next? You start calling him your president to change the status of his arrested as a leader of a group. Automatically returning the status is what we are doing by doing that. Our people, what is wrong with us? You don't like where you hear the truth. You don't like where everything will presented to you, but you must continue.
Their importance is in providing public evidence that a claim to self-determination is genuinely supported by the people, which strengthens the eventual case for recognition as an independent state.
Do you hear it? The importance is providing public evidence that a claim to self-determination is genuinely supported by the people, which strengthens the case for recognition as an independent state. Now that we have, this is after declaration, things we need to do. In Finland, we only had one protest. Enough of my assignment ever since then. From that day to everywhere was off. If you are prepare yourself for this movement, do everything within to prove this is the right thing to do. If you have come outside for this, come outside fully. You don't hide yourself. Okofu bloka gaun. Onye want to be a gaun wish. The protest also will trigger. They say that the protest of such a leader, of such person, can trigger what? Recognition as an independent state. Do you know why? Maybe because of we have never do the protest after our official declaration in every country in the world. Do you know why the recognition never come? Do you know that is why the recognition never come? 1 year is by the corner. See, 1 year, like tomorrow morning, and we have never marched out in the name of after our declaration. We never besieged Finland embassy. We never besieged Finland, Nigeria embassy in the name of that Biafra has become a sovereign state and it should leave. It might be that one you are running away from, might bring one that will bring what we are looking for. That is why we must apply multiple dimensions. That is the reason why we must apply multiple dimensions. Why our people are shying away? Why we do not understand the importance of protest in all over the world? They said it's also to prove a genuine support of the people who Mazi Nnamdi and the Mazi is fighting for. It's also to prove it to the world. Not everybody come to us and listen. You don't know that? Not everybody is in the S handle. Not everybody is in the YouTube. Not everybody is everywhere to listen. We must do something. We must add upon what we are doing. It is very important that you understand it very well. Let's continue.
1. Legal significance of protests. Self-determination.
Are you
The
listening?
protests and the leader's arrest relate to the right to self-determination, which is a fundamental principle of international law enshrined in the UN Charter and the International Covenants on Human Rights.
I hope you are hearing. 1. Legal significance of protest and self-determination. The protest and the leader arrest relate to the right to self-determination, which is a fundamental principle of international law enshrined in the UN Charter and the International Covenant of Human Rights. Is to prove that I don't know what is holding on. There is difference when we are making protests as a group of people and when we are making protests in the name of a new country. There is difference between these two things. Their weight, their level, their respect, the understanding of the world into these two things are not the same thing. One is bigger than the other one. Making a protest in the name of a new country has a bigger weight more than protest as a group of IPOB, MASOB, fall back, fall in, and what's none. There is no weight on that thing. But when it carries a name of a new state, it has a bigger weight. I will prove it to you very soon, maybe tomorrow morning. The difference, the value of making a protest in the name of a new country, and the difference between making a protest as a group of people, of a secession group. The protest and the leader arrest related to the right of self-defense. When we are making protests, shouting, the population are moving out to prove to the world that this person was a choice of the people. The world will draw attention. It draws attentions of the world into what we are doing. Which is a fundamental principle of international law. Protest. of a leader who was arrested before a declaration. Okay, you're welcome. Ugo, you're welcome. We have Kenny, you're welcome also. Thank you so much. Please like and share as you come. We are discussing this evening on the importance of the election, of the vote, or also the protest under international law. Their law, that is why we will do everything that is their law approved. Now that the law of UN and also the Covenant on Human Rights approved that protest is one of the strategies to release a leader who was arrested before a declaration. Those that are very close to the government of Biafra, why are you not giving some evidence to the government so they may understand it very well? It's going to 1 year, we'll come back. Only one protest under the government, under the new country. It is very important that we do so. And trying in UN Charter and the International Covenant on rights, on human rights, protests. That is why what Sowore is doing, I fully support it with all my heart. The protest is all about politics. It is political. No matter the tension, what matters is that when Mazi Nnamdi Kanu call for Sowore to be released, when Mazi Nnamdi Kanu called for these two people in Igbo land was Olusameto and Ojozo Kanu. He's a politician, but he called for them. It's political talk also. It's all about politics. It's all about awareness. Awareness is what seen by the eyes. In my own adage, they told us that what you heard from your ear is lie, but what you see with your eyes is evidence and is truth. Ndị asị n'okwu Igbo na nke nnụ na ntị bụ asị mana nke mfụnanya bụ eziokwu. We need to adhere to all these things. We continue trying. We continue pushing in all dimensions because we don't know exactly the one that is going to work for us. The same way the government has right to call for vote in Biafra land, it's the same way they have right to call for vote all over the world. Call to protest all over the world. I don't know whether you are following on the issue of legal significance of protest and self-determination. See how they attach two of them together.
Element. International law principle. The protests. Demonstrations are the visible and organized expression of the people's will. They serve as compelling factual evidence that the people are 1. A distinct people, 2. United in their demand to determine their own political status, and 3. Rejecting the current colonial/occupying powers authority.
Do you hear me of protests? They must protest. International law principle. Element. Protest. Demonstration are the visible and organized expression of the people's will. They serve as compelling factor, evidence that the people are number one, a distant people. 2. Unite in their demand to determine their own political status. That is number 2. Number 3, rejecting the current colonial and occupying power authority. Like Nigeria, our protests also prove that we don't want Nigeria, we don't want Britain anymore. We don't want Britain, we don't want Nigeria. Now, Britain is the one that colonized Nigeria. Then who occupy our land? It's not Nigeria authority that occupy our land, it's them. This is all what protests present for. 3 cardinal points of protests. 3 important way of protest. 3 things that protests represent. Tell me the one that is not important into these 3 cardinal points of protest under international law. Tell me. That's why I said that is why when Alan Smith said that the Biafran people are holding themselves to take their freedom, I agree with him that we're holding ourselves. Now that we have a government, now that we are in a new country, now that we are a sovereign state, some attitude of force has to change. Some things must go the other way around. Some things must go on the template of the international law. Yes, the governments are using the template of international law. But like all these ones they are telling us here, they must imply it also. They say that the demonstration is evidence of an eyesore that the people are determined, that the people are united, that the people are what? Are decent people. It is also proof a way of rejecting the current colonial and also the occupier power authority, which is happened to be Nigeria. These are the things we need to do now that we are a new state. They did ask us to do this when we was in IPOB as an organization. But now that we are a sovereign state, they ask us to do this. And what is delaying us to do that? What is delaying us? What is stopping it is the question I'm asking. Why no protest in the name of Mazi Simon Ekpa and Joko in foreign land? Not in Nigeria. Because he was arrested in a foreign land? Or does it mean that Finland, in their law, people do not have a right to protest? Did the Finland law prohibit people to protest for their prime minister who was arrested and kept in prison? Must we use the measurement of Mazi Simon Ekpa? That is why I said, if you see anybody who are talking about the table of Mazi Simon, that person is a fool, because at this moment where we are, look at the template we're supposed to carry on. It's international laws, principles, and guideline. Now that we are a new state, I am saying it. I am saying this as an advice, as my opinion. It might not count, but it's the truth that we need to adhere towards it. The protests are not supposed to be for Nigeria because of what Nigeria represented. Because amalgamation represented death sentence for anybody who wants to refuse amalgamation in Nigeria.
The leader's arrest. When a colonial
The
or
leader's
occupying
arrest.
power arrests a national leader for non-violent political action, it is often viewed as a violation of the fundamental rights of the people, specifically, the rights to freedom of assembly and freedom of expression. This act by the ruling power further validates the independence movement's narrative of oppression and illegitimacy of the existing rule.
Are you hearing it? Our protests. Our protests. The leader arrest Mazi Nnamdi, the president of United States of Biafra, Mazi Simon Ekpa, the prime minister of United States of Biafra. These people, when a colonial or occupying power arrested a nation leader, do you see what they use now? Did they use any group as IPOB? Did they use any group as fallback? No. They use when a colonial or occupying power arrests a nation leader for non-violent political action. It is often viewed as violation of the fundamental right of the people. This is, you know, since how many days ago, I am bringing out the side of the UN Charter that is very wrong, that need to call for amendment. Now, on this one that they are right, why can't we do it? Because from that place you see something bad, there is something good also there. Then for that one that is not good, you call for amendment on that one. But for the one that is good, you employ it, you move with it. They did not say arrest a leader, arrest a leader of a group, what? A leader of a nation. Because all this one is after their declaration of United States of Biafra as a country. This is what it is. This is what it is. That these things are very important into what we are doing. We have to do it. We all have to do it. It's very important. Yes, I see Emmanuel. Good evening from here. Sorry, my brother, you come earlier today. You are welcome, Emmanuel. You come very earlier. So, my people, the right of the protest under UN Charter, it is a fundamental principle right of the people. To call a protest in the name of the leader, the head of the nation, who happened to be Mazi Nnamdi. For me, I use that word president for him. Because I have searched everything, find out that is his honor. That is what also can trigger international pity. That is what also can trigger international attention. Now that Biafra has officially declared. If you believe that Biafra is officially declared, if you believe in the government, if you believe in the new nation, you must be using that word, president on Mazi Nnamdi, Prime Minister on Simon Ekpa. Why can't you call Mazi Nnamdi on Simon Ekpa now? Or a leader also? Why are you, when it's come to him, you address him as a prime minister? To trigger international pity. The act by the ruling power further violates the independent movement narrative of oppressor and the illegitimacy of the existing ruling. Now that we are a new country, our protest in the name of the United States of Biafra, our protest in the name of United States of Biafra is proving to Nigeria that they no longer have that legitimacy to occupy our land anymore. By that, they are violating the human rights law. We will trigger all these things to happen. I must tell you one thing. The social media is quiet when it's come to protests of Mazi Nnamdi rights now. Now that we a new nation is where they are telling us here that now is the right time for that protest. We have been doing this all this while. We are making awareness. When we do not have a country. Now we have a country. It's the main time to do the protest in abroad, not in the homeland. Because it's abroad people that give recognition, the foreign countries. They are the one to force Nigeria. They are the one to force Nigeria. France helped America for the recognition. France support them. France give them aid, give them weapon to fight against Britain. This is how it happens in other countries. No court will release. If Nigeria release Mazi Nnamdi, that means that they are useless. But if Mazi Nnamdi release under the protest, under the government of the United States of Biafra as a president of the Biafra, it is honor to Mazi Nnamdi, and also it is honor to Nigeria by what? By proving that they are new in the country. Nothing concerned with them us again. No charges. Once it is released under this name, there is no charge again that we will charge Nigeria. There's no charge. Because what end the matter is that the president of a new country released under the name of the new country. Let him go and have his country and do his will. This is how negotiation happens everywhere. This is how transpired. Nelson Mandela was released. This was transpired. Gandhi of India was released. This was transpired. Jomo Kenyatta of Kenya was released. This was transpired. Rahman of Bangladesh was released. They all released in the name of their country. And in the dialogue, we are releasing him, we are giving recognition, now you are a country. Go on your own. So you want Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, after these 5 years of being in DSS dungeon and suffered all this, to come out with empty-handed? If you release him, if the sanction on what is going on, if the punishment that the world want to give Nigeria is 20%, if they release Mazi Nnamdi Kanu right now, the sanction will increase. But when they release him as the leader of a new country called Biafra, the Nigeria sanction we treat as a dialogue of recognition to the Biafran people. That is why it's important for you to understand the importance of what I am saying here this evening. You must continue.
In the context of decolonization, the primary setting for this scenario.
In the context of decolonization, you know what one about OBA we talk about decolonization and the legitimization also. Remember that. Nigeria need to, by arresting Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, now that we are a new country, this is we are addressing the world, because they have arrested, or the leader of a new country, the president of the new country was arrested before the declaration. And once a new country is being declared, he becomes their president, their prime minister. These are line of have to two. The primary settings of this scenario, listen very carefully.
Mass protests serve as the de facto, quote, consent of the governed, necessary to establish a clear claim for external self-determination, which often leads to the formation of a sovereign state.
Do you hear that? The scenario, mass protests serve as the de facto contents of the grounding necessary to establish clear claim for external self-determination. Mass protests in the world. Mass protests now that we are a new country. Now that we are a sovereign state without international recognition. Now that we are a country with under dispute that we are not in charge of fully our land. Because of that, we are not in charge fully of our land. Does not mean that we are not a sovereign state. Does not mean that we are not a nation. The protests are what? Under international law. In the context of decolonization, the primary settings for this scenario, mass protests serve as a de facto. Mass protests serve as a de facto on its own. Then the contents of the government necessary to establish a claim for external self-determination, which often lead to the function of a sovereign state. That's what we are doing now. Oh, I see my senior mom here. I see James, you are welcome. I see our big mommy, happy man. Thank you so much. Good evening, ma. Thank you so much. You are welcome. The protest is important. The protest is very, they say that the protest is important and on a highly level. On the what? On the high level of it. And the protests are very, very important. Now that we are a sovereign state, those that are very close to the government, Dr. Nnamdi, those that are very close to her need to be bringing all this UN charter, time without number, forwarding on her personal line to be reading. She was not born with education of how to get a new sovereign state. She was not born with the idea. We all born with the idea that that's one Nigeria, until we realize that the amalgamation is a death sentence to the Biafran people, to the indigenous people in all over Nigeria. The world care only for their profit, which I show you in the morning. Britain also tell you that you are goods and their property of profit. In 1781, the journey did not start today. Back to our protest that we're discussing this evening. We might not finish it today because of my time. We might come back for it tomorrow morning. It might. Understand the importance of protest. Why we need it. It's also about when Obato Obie said that the movement is about multiple dimensions. Now, since 3 or 4 days ago, I am telling you the bad side of the UN Charter. The things that are supposed to occur for amendment. Right now, they refuse to occur for amendment. Because of them, they are afraid of their own country either. Now, today, I am bringing out for you also from that UN Charter the areas that are favored us now that we are newly declared independent country. Let us continue.
2. Distinction. Legality versus legitimacy.
Distinction.
It's crucial to distinguish between the legal right to protest and the legal status of the independence movement. Protests are legally protected under modern international human rights law, like the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, which protects the freedoms of assembly and expression. Peaceful protests are a protected right. Therefore, the colonial power arresting the leader and violently suppressing the ensuing protests risks violating the human rights obligations it is bound by.
Do you hear that? Protest. So we must fully support what Chowore is doing. The protest is political. That is the truth. It's to seek for international pity. It's to create awareness. It's to also let the world know that that's why I told you, as Biafra was officially declared, by now we're supposed to call protest under the name of the government of United States of Biafra. Finland has embassy in America. The government will carry placards and call protest there. It's the right of the government. Ndị ba is n'okwu Igbo na nke m nọ na ntị basị mana nke m funanya bụ eziokwu. We need eyewitness. They say that the protest is evidence that the prime minister who was arrested by Finland is the choice of the people. The protest is evidence that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, who happened to be the president of the state of Biafra, is the choice of his people. That is what the protest is all about. And they said it draws international attention to know that Nigeria is violating a sovereign state's rights under human rights of the new state. That the protest, they will be looking at Mazi Nnamdi Kanu as somebody who is a leader of a nation. Since when we have declared Biafra, this government has not called for protest. Are we afraid of that? Are we afraid of that? There is a paper that the government we submit to authority that also they want to handle a protest also place. It will be granted. It will be what? Granted to lead the protest. Finland has embassy in America. There is difference, which I'll prove to you, the level of when you are a country and the making a protest to demand the release of your president. They say that one is on a high level. That's the protest under group of IPOB, under group of of back. There is nothing good. The vote, they see it as now that these people are secession group. But when it happened to be a country, then it draws attention. On that our placards, you write Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, the president of the state of Biafra, hashtag free him. You write on that your protest, hashtag free Simon Ekpa, the prime minister of the state of Biafra. These are the things that we need to do. These are the things that call for attention. Oh yeah, there is evidence that proves to the world that the leader who was arrested before declaration was a leader, was the choice of the people. It's by protest. It's by protest that he is the choice of the people. This is UN Charter. I am reading to you. Also, the Covenant on Human Rights. What is this article of laws that are there? Today, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, he released by the Nigerian government. If Nigerian government will release Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, by 20. They could have released him today to stop all this that is going on. To do what? To stop everything that is going on. If they want to release him. But today, they submit the document, the lab test or the lab result to the court officially. Only this one trigger to release Mazi Nnamdi with all this pressure, with all this that are going on. That is why you will know that when Chukwuemeka Ojukwu in his final words before he passed from this world said that Biafra will come from diaspora. It's in the hands of those diaspora to bring Biafra. It's not in the hands of that court. And I want to remind you again that no leader who was fought for a new country was released without officially recognition of that new country. They used those leaders to do exchange and get recognition. Nigeria will use Mazi Nnamdi to give us recognition, if you don't know, as a country. If we are doing what's supposed to do, the eyes are seeing. Now that we are a sovereign state, now that we are a new nation, now that the protests will yield a heavy weight in the eyes of the international global community. Do you know, maybe because of there's no protest, that is why they thought that what we are doing is not serious and is internal affair of Nigeria as a member of the UN, of the territorial integrity. Instead of you to destroy the Nigeria territorial integrity by protest, you remain silent and be writing only on paper. The same way we call for votes in the homeland is also the same way we have right to call for protests in abroad. And make it openly. Choose a day. Tell Biafrans all over the country where we are residing that today is a protest for our two leaders who are the head of the new nation. Let us continue. Number 2. About the legitimacy versus about the two things that are important: legitimate and legitimacy. Between legal right to protest and the legal status of the independence movement. Protests are legal. Protest under the mood of international human rights law, like the International Covenant of Civil and the Political Rights. I told you the protest is all about politics. It's all about what? Politics of the right of the people. Which protest the freedom of the assembly and expression. That people have the freedom of assembly and expression and having expression of their will, of their mind, or what is their problem. Peaceful protests are protected rights. Therefore, the power arrested the leader and suppressing the ensuring protest risk violating the human rights obligation it is bound by. Now, if we are doing this protest and anybody interrupt us about the protest, that person are violating the international law or the human rights. Now that we are a new country, I'm telling you that protests are very important into what we are doing. Protest is very, very important. Protest is very, very sacrosanct. Protest is a part of the movement to prove that Mazi Nnamdi is the choice of the population of indigenous people of Biafra. To prove that Pastor Simon Ekpa is the choice from the indigenous people of Biafra under United States of Biafra protest, it yielded a very important result. Now that we have organized ourselves, now is a time for protests to be happening once in 1 month, 2 times in 1 month. That is what this law is telling us here. Like I told you, because of my time for job, we are going to finish it. We finish tomorrow morning, and do more on the other side, proving to you how the protests under the name of a new country are valued more than the protests under when we are using structures to do protests. This is the truth of the matter that we all must know. And these truths are very bitter. You might not like what I'm saying. But my own is that I already said it out on the social media. It's a high time we use every multiple dimension to get what we are looking for. So if you want to call, you are free to call on number +973360513337 only on WhatsApp. That is the number to call. We have only 20 minutes that left for this program to be shut down. So please, if you want to call, you have it. That's why I said we won't finish it up today. You have your time to call. You have the time to call now. Please, my people. So from tomorrow morning, we're going to continue from where we stop. Tomorrow, we have part 2 of this program, the importance of the protests on international law. Do they approve that? Yes. What Toro is doing is what's being supported. Then after all this one that Sowore has did, that's why I told you, none of this leader who has fought for freedom was released. There is difference between a terrorist person who they captured and rehabilitated him, put him inside the government of Nigeria as a country, and the person who is fighting to leave from Nigeria. Who is fighting for a new country. What is Mazi kind of fighting for? It's not for a sovereign state of United States of Biafra to be a free nation. There is difference between these two people. The same law are not holding two of them. A lot of people, 4 that I know their history very well, how they were released, it's not by court. Court has never released a leader of any new country. Court has never. That is where Nigeria is holding us. Nigeria wants us to get international recognition that we push them to sit on the round table and release Mazi and the Kano as in the name of the new country. That's what Nigeria is waiting for. And this is how it happens to other countries. It happens to Bangladesh. It's happened to Italy. It happened to South Africa. It happened to Kenya. I have read the history of these 4. How the leader was released. Based on what? Based on what? Exactly what happened to the Juma, Kenya, head of Kenya, is what happened to Mazi and the Kano. He stayed in prison over 11 years before they release him. And release him, he comes out immediately, become the first prime minister of Kenya. Comes out, he becomes the first president of Kenya. This is how it happens. So I don't know what you're waiting for. I don't know what you are waiting for as a Biafran. I don't know what you're waiting to handle this protest, for you to know that this protest is all about creating awareness, drawing attention of the world for the pity. But it's going to yield more fruit when it's coming from the side of the government of United States of Biafra. You may not like what I'm saying. It's your opinion. But under this international law, this is what we're supposed to do. Now that we're a new country, there is difference of all the protests that is going on. Do you know that protest that happened after our election in Finland is part of what people are Simon Ekpa? Prove that he's a people's choice. It's why they don't bring him down to Nigeria. Number one thing that stopped bringing down to Nigeria is that our declaration. The second is what? The protest. So that protest is supposed to continue by now under the name of the government. So the country that we are on their place doing it, we say that this is a new country that are seeking for international recognition, are looking for their leader to be released to them. For how long are we going to shy away from the truth? For how long are we going to be doing? We are not doing enough to release Mazi Simon, but that is the truth. We are not doing enough. We are not doing enough to release them. If I say the truth, you might hurt me. You must stop coming to my page. But does it matter? What matters that I have said is truth? Because had I know comes at last. Let us not cry for had I know. Let us continue with the multiple dimension. Obatobie was calling it at home often and on as a protest. Now that we have declared Biafra officially, we have the right to protest in the foreign country. Besiege Nigeria embassy, besiege Kenya, besiege Finland embassy, in everywhere in the world. If the country where you are, if you check there is Kenya embassy, there is Finland embassy, besiege there. The government to give a letter to inform the government. We are protesting in the name of our new country, asking for recognition of the recognition on our own, and also to release our leaders who was arrested and the one was kidnapped. You are making awareness. Use political movement. Now that Nigeria is boiling, now that Nigeria is everywhere, now they are debunking the lives of Nigeria. You go 247, you leave it, and you are making caricature of yourself at your old age. Or Mobre wants to most I can say you can hear Mazi Kenya on that. Egu, that is go 247. That is why he will say, you are chained, they chain me. Because this is not what you told us. You know that once you are tired of this Biafra, you need the government that you will just mute yourself and go inside. I never have your time, honestly. When I have your time, I was talking to you, tell me that we should drop politics in Biafra movement. Without politics, we are not getting Biafra. Without politics, we are not getting Biafra. With politics, we used to get it, because it's all about, look at the protests. It's all about politics. Everything that surrenders the movement of the new country for the people, everything in between is all about politics. Nothing more than that. When Nazareth said that we will use truth and get Biafra, is by telling the world the truth of what we are passing through.
Did you know there was once a group of enslaved Africans in America who refused to live in chains and walked straight into the ocean instead? It happened in 1803 on the coast of Georgia. Over 70 Igbo people were kidnapped from Nigeria and sold into slavery.
Over 70 Igbo people was kidnapped and sold to America in Georgia. Hi, why like this now? Why like this?
Mistake. They thought the Igbo were weak. The moment the boats touched the shore, the captives rose up, broke their chains, and overpowered the slave traders. Some say they drowned them. Others say they threw them into the sea. Then, in one of the most powerful acts of resistance ever recorded, the Igbo marched together into the water, chanting in their language, "The water brought us here. The water will take us home." Step by step, they walked into the waves, not as slaves, but as free people. Their courage turned tragedy into legend. Today, that place is called Igbo Landing, and locals still say that on quiet nights, you can hear their voices carried by the wind and the tide. They didn't die in defeat. They rose and went home through the water.
Do you hear this? How do you feel? And what will stop it? A new nation called United States of Biafra. We will look at all these people and ask them. We will sue many people what they did to Igbo people. Listen to it again.
Did you know there was once a group of enslaved Africans in America who refused to live in chains and walked straight into the ocean instead? It happened in 1803.
1803.
Georgia. Over 70 Igbo people were kidnapped from Nigeria and sold into slavery. But their captors made one fatal mistake. They thought the Igbo were weak. The moment the boats touched the shore, the captives rose up, broke their chains, and overpowered the slave traders. Some say they drowned them. Others say they threw them into the sea. Then, in one of the most powerful acts of resistance ever recorded, The Igbo marched together into the water, chanting in their language, "The water brought us here. The water will take us home." Step by step, they walked into the waves, not as slaves, but as free people. Their courage turned tragedy into legend. Today, that place is called Igbo Landing, and locals still say that on quiet nights, you can hear their voices carried by the wind and the tide. They didn't die in defeat. They rose and went home through the water.
Do you hear it? You did not start today that the words want us to be under them. But they told us in our heritage line that we refuse to bow to anybody. That is what they told us here. So I want you to understand why everything must carry along. It's a high time we carry everything along. It's a high time you understand how we have suffered, even in the hands of America. They are not outside what is, because if they claim they did not support, why did they enslave our people in the slave trade? Over 70 of them. This is the only number that was captured. What of those that did not capture? What of those that nobody knows about their history? What the world did to us is unacceptable. What the world did to us is unacceptable. Even in America, when British captured, they will sell to people. That is why they call us goose. They call us property that they used to sell and make profits. Maybe this is part of those that Britain sell to America. And they thought that when when they enter inside the sea, they thought that they have left. We never accept defeat in our life. That is why today we are fighting for this our new country called University of Biafra. After 59 years of fighting, we are still fighting. And you see saboteurs everywhere. You see it happening. You see everything going in between. Thank you so much for sending the video. I appreciate. Because we play everything that our people want us to. These are things that they triggered us. When you search a video, you cry, you weep for your people. Those who suffered in this manner. Those who suffered in this way. Everything that happened to us is unacceptable. It is unacceptable to us, my people. So I want you to know that there is no other way. That the only way we have to stop all that happened to us is by standing the government. Ugo 247 don't know the road. Because of his poverty and the low acumen of mindset, he don't know. Even me, this country where I am, they hold party on Thursdays. Sometimes I go to club on Thursday and chill out and relax and laugh, enjoy myself. So because of someone is fighting for freedom, he will not enjoy his life. When you see where you can do it, all these presidents that are governing countries, are ruling countries, are they not going to club? Look at the poor mindset. That is the exposure he's going to drink. He's disgracing himself because of you don't every is where the club. If you go 247, if was a champion by a perfume, on AC, Ugo 247, if will chat Kataro, or that told me an imapity. Master Chagaro, you took to the mapity. Go to the person and say, we agree that they should deceive us. Oh, when Banas and Madu Rimado. Oh, one boy by us and oh man, uncle or Simba. Now, uncle and Korea, where I'm told. Wall block. Mesha bronya mama. No buno to okay, Siri Madu Siri beer. So no buno to I can go to the best see a Sranya Siam, Money deceive one. I am working with all my heart. Obasragi. Deceive. If you give one year, on your one year by a waggy, never goes to a base the Konyagi, son only deputy prime minister. Did not the deputy information that you offer any set of information up where Yagi. 1 year with your common word. Yaki one is a pope. If your aim be Ugo 247, if your aim be one be Nessia Burao, now Bagari. If you're not on Yara, or one make you name, one bingo, now Magaran social media, in a platform, a Biafra build. In a hair, Prani, or when you go, computer platform. Or when you got a phone, or when you got a laptop, or one dinner, or one student bog. You were be a meet you one time. You were all jogging, getting here them well up to this one. Help, poor build book mogi, you build the platform, he help right. Oh, you don't have that bomb help one, other more come on trolley. I'll be there more, they come travel go 247. Wait a number, get bog. Still like we enter. It's not possible. I can't be here when you are own time, not when I want, on your own time. When we make org, get a killing them, get a build. Neighbor, na link here, and Gali driver. All put their mad bragia if refer where man kegi, one bingo. Or book and keep as well. If maybe one be see a brown bagar. Look at him walking to one and I call. Nkelo nole before my home before a lobby. Is really what I just spend. Only like Biafra and Harry Horn are trying to be born or turn against Biafra. Goes on a beza. You know, they ever told be in your position on one bingo. You know, they ever told be a man help one mugu, one be. Let's say a bravo. If such a year why pay from 1 year ago, now you negotiate on your since all this while you are pretending. Now, can you prove who you are? We welcome it with all our hearts. My people, we must continue. So from me, from here, I thank you. Like I said, it's going to be 1 hour. And by tomorrow, we will finish that's this document of UN Charter that we are reading. We continue with it by tomorrow. Once we finish, we will see what we present, because here you don't know what you will see when you come. Here is when you come, you see what I want you to know. And that thing that I hide from us is what I always want to bring to you. So from me, from here, it is a wonderful evening from my location, and until we see tomorrow morning, have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for being here.